So I decided to put a little bit of protection on the silicone tubing. So I got some of this self-fusing, self-bonding so-called super tape, which has its uses. One of the big drawbacks of it, this is the really inexpensive stuff from Harbor Freight, is that it is a day's work just to get the backing off of this tape. But once you get the backing off and you wrap it, it does stretch and stick to itself and seems to hold up pretty well. I've been using it for a year or so. It's not bad. But it is so difficult to get the plastic release layer. Stuff is really hard to get to come off. You have to almost cut into the tape to get the to get the layer to come off. There we go. I think I can see it. Really tricky stuff to work with sometimes. But once you get the release layer separated, it's there we go. So you peel that off. I'm just going to wrap it around this line so that if it's touching the body of the car, it's not going to wear a hole through the silicone, because that is definitely one drawback of silicone, is that it is not very abrasion resistant. So anyway, got the protection in there, got my hose driver. Whoops. Found the little alignment tang and slip it into place. So now I've got a little, piece of rubber more or less where it needs to be. And we'll probably just go with that, although I can see now I didn't really quite get it in the right spot, so maybe I will add another piece. It's funny how jobs always take a little bit longer than what you think. It's funny how that is. So anyway, another little piece of tape. And some more fun and games with the screwdriver to try to get the release layer to peel. Oh yeah, coming now. Peel that off, and then just need to put the tape a little bit farther down on this than what I originally thought. And this is probably not really required, but let's see how it looks. Get that in there. That in there. And then you've now got some nice protection from abrasion for both hoses. Both hoses, neither hose appears to be pinched, I think. And all three are connected correctly, so at this point I think I'm pretty much done with this side. I can probably back tighten back up this bolt, which I wouldn't over tighten it. I was noticing when I took the charcoal canister out that the bottom of the canister on this side was slightly bulged, and I think that is from me having over tightened the canister, which it really doesn't need to be over tightened. I see there's a notch on this side too that the canister has to sit into and align with, I think. You just want to make sure it's aligned, make sure that the notch on the canister aligns with the metal bracket notch. And then when you're tightening this 10mm bolt up, when it gets tight, you're done. You do not need to over tighten it. Because I think if you over tighten it, it'll make the canister bulge. So I think that is looking pretty good. Yep. Might put a little bit of white lithium grease on that just to make that come off easier down the road, should I ever need to get back in there. And at this point, we're ready to route, probably ready to protect, and then route this line where it needs to go on the clamps, there, and back, put the vent valve back on its clamp. So that's what we're going to do next. So I took the vent valve off of this end of the tube, and I know I've got to route this silicone tube up on a couple of clamps, and the clamps are going to abrade. So I've got this expandable wire sleeving, and it's like a finger puzzle. You just push it to expand it. This stuff is great for protecting from abrasion. And generally, you just you can flame treat the ends or heat treat the ends so that they don't unweave. But I don't think I'm going to worry about that for right now. I'm just going to cut off a piece of it, slide it into position, and there's the clamp. Right up there. And I'm going to put this sleeve in place right about where it should be. And then just kind of put it into position. Maybe get that a little bit farther towards the front of the car, like that. I think that's got enough. Might need slightly more clay on that end, so I'm going to just position it there like that. I think that should be I think that should be clearing the fender well with a little bit of extra slack. And then I need another piece of sleeve. For the second clamp, I think I'll make it a little bit longer because that piece seemed a bit on the short side. This is just to keep the silicone from getting abraded. If I was using fuel line or something that was regular, rubber, I wouldn't need to worry about this. Definitely wouldn't need to worry about it. Put that up there. And that goes under the clamp. Yeah, that's definitely about the right length to use. And that's looking pretty good. And I think we're ready to probably put the put this, as I recall, this slides on the clamp, and then yeah, this vent valve slides on the clamp. And then I've got this connector, which I could put a little bit of contact cleaner on, but it's probably alright, but I think I will. And then at the very end, after I've got the vent valve back in its proper position, I'll just cut the hose to length, I guess, and slide it on when it's in position. I think that's the easiest way to do it. Okay, so I went and got my contact cleaner, which you probably don't need, but this stuff is this stuff is made by CRC. It's CRC 226 electrical contact cleaner, and I generally will put a dab of this on each little pin when I'm putting something back together again, and it seems to work pretty well if you have an intermittent contact. Not that I think that was the issue here, it's just preventative. And then I'm going to connect this back up. That looks pretty good. Feels alright. And this connector, this valve just kind of sits there. And I just slid the rubber mount back on its little hook there, and the cable for the electrical cable seems to be routed pretty much the way it was before. So I think at this point I just need to get the right length on this silicone tubing, and then take some scissors and cut it to length. And I already put a little bit of the plumber's silicone grease on the end of this bushing, so I think all I need to do is just push the silicone tubing into place on that fitting and slide it all the way on, and then that's probably all I really need to do. Thinking best practice is to put a tie wrap on, so I'll do that. And getting towards the point where can clean up a little bit, and I know one thing I got to do is take these old rivet heads out. But I'm thinking that got our new hose all the way over to the canister. Everything looks okay, so it's time to take out these old rivets before putting in new rivets. Now I could start trying to drill and whatnot, but I don't think I want to do that. I think it's better just to... I am going to put my safety glasses on though. Okay, so I got that clipped off, and there's just a little bit of a part of the body of the rivet on the other side of this metal tab that is in the way. It's still attached. Let's see if I can clip that off. Yeah, it just came right out. So you got that one. There's one down here. That one already fell out. And then down here, this is actually on the plastic part of the body. Got to be a little bit more gentle, because I'm guessing that the aluminum rivet is actually more durable in some ways than the plastic of the body. Don't want to crack anything. Have to get in there with, you can see there's some stress cracks, and I think it's basically looking pretty good. So I got all those holes ready. I'm going to just do the front side too. Which is just this guy. Cut that off. Cut this off. Obviously you want to be careful not to hurt any part of the paint that's going to be visible after the fender liner goes back on. And you don't want to scratch the paint anyway, because it's all galvanized, and if you scratch off the galvanization, it could rust. I'm guessing drilling these might be easier. Oh, that one just popped right out. Part of the bumper is going through that one too, so that one is a three-hole rivet. It's going to be important to remember that when we're putting it back, when we're putting new rivets in. That one just popped out. That's a one-hole rivet. And let's see about this guy. That one popped through, and that one popped through. So it's just this guy right here has got the bumper cover and the plastic So I'll clean this up and then go get some rivets. So, next thing to do is put the fender liner back in place. It's already been pretty well cleaned off. So, just maneuver it into position, avoiding the brake lines and the suspension components, and clip it on up at the top and get it over these bolts. Kind of feel around for them. This one has to go, actually, before that bolt. This has to go behind. No, it doesn't. I was wrong. This is going to go in position. And then you're going to clip the fender on later. So that goes on. And this one goes on. You just push up until that latches in place. And I see there's one here I forgot to loosen, which probably would have made the job a lot easier. I'll loosen this guy, and that goes up underneath. And then you're ready for the clipping up here. And then we're ready to rivet. Okay, I got my plastic rivets. These are palm rivets. These ones are 5mm by 15.8mm, and I've got a rivet gun. And you basically just stick the rivet in, and hopefully it'll fit in. Well, that one's a little bit bigger than the hole, so these rivets might not fit. I've also got some of the Volvo rivets, which are metallic, that I bought at greater expense from the dealer. Those ones go right on in. So I'm gonna, for the rivets, the two rivets that go through the metal, this guy and the one behind the wheel, I'm gonna try to use this gun with the official Volvo rivets. And it didn't work. It did work.